Well, it's really gotten to that point for me. I've been so unproductive during this whole quarantine that I decided to go back and look at some of the old shows that I used to love. And I decided that for fun, I would just go ahead and organize my top 25 favorite anime into a list, because I really had nothing better to do right now. These are shows that I absolutely love to death, and I will do everything in my power to make you watch them. I'm literally begging you to watch all of these anime. Just for some obvious clarification, these are my favorite shows, which means that this is my opinion. So basically, you can disagree with me, because, you know, it's an opinion, and that's how this works. That's completely okay. I know, wild stuff. This list is purely for fun, and not a way to rank a show as being better than another. Just kind of think of it as a peek into what kind of shows I like a lot, and if something catches your eye, hopefully it'll either convince you to give the show a try, or look at the show a little bit differently if you've already seen it. I decided to limit my list to only anime shows because movies are a whole different ballpark, and I probably want to try to hit on those in a different video. So yeah, let's go ahead and get this shit over with. So let me get this out of the way. I binge watched Hellsing Ultimate years ago for Halloween, and I really don't remember a lot of the details in it. What I do remember is that Hellsing is definitely one of the most fucked up shows I've ever laid eyes on. Alucard is this badass vampire who is a member of Hellsing, a secret bridge organization that's meant to deal with the supernatural and keep the public safe. Under the command of Sir Integra Fairbrook Wingate's Hellsing, which is such a fucking sweet name, holy fuck. Fight against vampires and Nazis and Catholics and I guess the KKK as well in spectacularly gory fights. All of the characters are super grandiose and badass, which makes them more memorable. If the character isn't already dead, you can bet your ass you're gonna hear some badass dialogue from them at least once. Unless you're this guy, then you're gonna get over 10 minutes of speech time multiple times. Just stop. On the complete other end of things, we have Love is War. Love is War is about two students, the wealthy Vice President Kaguya and the intelligent Miyuki, who both like each other a lot but are both way too prideful to confess their love to the other. So they attempt to get the other person to confess first, and the first person to confess loses. Loses what? Nothing at all really, but regardless, watching the schemes that these two come up with are Death Note levels of mind games. For example, trying to get the other person to pull out an umbrella that they have act like they don't have, so the other person is forced to offer to walk with them under the umbrella as a courtesy shouldn't be this damn entertaining, but it just is. And Chica's just adorable. So for starters, I really hate Zootopia. It's only really good for animal puns and appealing for kids, and everything else in it just serves as a not well thought out world that's only real goal is to be an allegory for social injustices such as discrimination and prejudice without really saying anything about those ideas or presenting them in a way to make people think about these things.
Go back to the forest, predator!
I'm from the savannah!
That said, let me talk about why I love this show about animals living in a society that's an allegory for discrimination. In this world of anthropomorphic animals, herbivores and carnivores have a lot of tension between them for obvious reasons. Legacy is this hulking gray wolf that despite his size and strength is extremely self-kept and quiet. At the beginning of the show, a herbivore is murdered and eaten, which creates further unease between herbivores and carnivores, and separations between the two rise. Then Lugosi meets a dwarf rabbit named Haru, who he develops complicated feelings for, mixing together feelings of love with his desire to eat her. Despite the fact that these are all animals, the emotions behind these characters feel so real and so human, and it's really become one of the most enthralling dramas I've ever watched. Issues such as discrimination, stereotyping, adolescence, self-worth, and even sex are all explored to a level of maturity you don't usually see. Beastars is evidence that 3D animation can work, and to a really good effect too. Movements are super expressive and the acting is on point. Of course, if I have to address the elephant in the room, yes, the characters are animals, but the show is by no means furry bait. Anyways... No Game No Life is like every gamer's wet dream, like literally every waking day is hoping you'll be sent to here. No Game No Life is an isekai about two of the world's best gamers put into a world where every decision is made based on playing and winning games, as decreed by the god of that world. Since Sora and Shiro are both extremely good players, the story focuses on their ability to constantly beat people at games in order to gain power and eventually challenge God himself. The color palette is what stands out to me the most about the show. You see so many vibrant colors here, and everything is outlined in red as opposed to black, which makes everything pop out even more. There's a lot of fan service to be found here. Like, a lot. It's a very escapist kind of show after all, and that just might not be everyone's thing. I understand that. Also, the fact that the show is never getting a second season is fucking killing me. Oh, but we did get a prequel movie that I refused to see until we get a second season announcement, so I'm never watching that movie. Going into Rascal Does Not Dream of a Bunny Girl Senpai, I was expecting to see a cute show about a cute girl who dresses up as a bunny and does cute stuff. And I ended up coming out of the show crying because it was really good. I was not expecting that. Sakura is this fucking snarky ass guy who does whatever the hell he wants without caring what other people think of him, and I want to be him, god damn. He runs into a girl in a library who's dressed up as a bunny girl and is seemingly unnoticed by everyone around her, except by him. Mai, a famous childhood actress and model, tells him that other people are unable to see her despite her celebrity status. And Sakura attempts to find a way to cure her of this condition he calls adolescent syndrome. Adolescent syndrome is described by the show as a supernatural disease that occurs during puberty. What I thought was going to be a supernatural Scooby-Doo-like show about solving phenomena turned into this emotional roller coaster of a character drama. The two main characters play off of each other so well, and their banter is so playful and flirtatious, I'd be fine if that was the entire show by itself. The idea of the syndrome being something psychological that a character has to fix instead of an outside force makes for some incredible character moments. Fullmetal Alchemist is like a no-brainer for being on this list. Like The Sky is Blue, Peanut Butter and Jelly go together, and Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is the top-rated anime of all time on my anime list. The story of Edward and Alphonse Elric, two young alchemists that study the art of deconstructing and constructing matter, on their journey to reclaim their bodies after a horrific accident to bring back their mother from the dead using alchemy, is basically a classic at this point. If you're an anime fan, you're basically required to have watched Fullmetal Alchemist, the same way if you watch Friends, you're required to clap during the intro of that one part. And for good reason, it's a damn good show in every way, and it's a must-watch if you haven't seen it already. I have friends who really fucking hate Steins Gate because they think it's really boring, and to that I have to say, not gonna lie, it's pretty boring for a long time. But regardless, I just love the show, I don't know why. Rentaro Okabe, a self-proclaimed mad scientist who's actually just a regular smart guy, discovers that one of his inventions, his modified microwave, is able to send text messages back in time. But time isn't something that should be messed around with lightly, and Okabe, along with his it's a time travel show. Despite the fact that it just seems like your run-of-the-mill science fiction time travel anime, Steins Gate manages to execute its story without the predictable paradoxes and deus ex machina that you might usually see, and it introduces very, very high stakes and character drama to keep the story engaging. At least when the ball gets rolling. Also, Mayuri has given us one of the best voice clips to come from any show. Assassination Classroom is about a supersonic octopus creature who, after blowing up a large portion of the moon, claims to do the same thing to the Earth in a year if he is not killed by them. He then becomes a teacher of a classroom where the students are required to assassinate him before that deadline. This is a fucking fantastic concept for a show. Who was the guy who thought of this? Though the show does feel very Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner-esque, the show really finds a way to stand out from it by having really good characters and great writing. It's a lot of fun watching these students become full-fledged assassins and watching their schemes unfold to try to kill him. It's just a fun ride the whole way through. If you haven't noticed, I'm not really huge on slice-of-life romances that much, but I don't know what it is about Toradora, man. Our main character, Ryuji, has a crush on an optimistic girl named Minori, who happens to be the best friend of Taiga, a short and violent girl who herself happens to have a crush on Ryuji's best friend, Yusaku. After Ryuji and Taiga discover each other's crushes, the two agree to help each other get with their respective friends. What starts out as a slice-of-life romantic comedy really evolves to something seriously beautiful later down the line. There's no good way for me to describe why Toradora is a really good romantic comedy. You just have to take my word for it, I guess. That's really all I have to say about it. It's great. Konosuba is damn funny. Kazuma is this dweeb that is reincarnated into a fantasy world on a quest to defeat the Demon King with the help of some of his teammates. Though this sounds like a standard isekai, it makes fun of a lot of the tropes typically associated with it to hilarious effect. His party consists of himself with nothing special about him really, a useless goddess who puts herself in high importance while also being a whiny crybaby, a one-trick mage who can only use one spell and that's it, and a paladin who can't hit anything. It's basically all of your teammates in League of Legends. It's fucking hysterical. It's so fun to watch them play off of each other and stumble into both wins and losses. I hope it never ends. I really don't need to say much about My Hero. Everyone and their cousin's grandma is at least slightly familiar with the show, so I want to keep this really brief. In a superpower society, everyone has a special ability called a quirk, which has led to the rise of heroes and villains. Midoriya, who has no quirk, still wishes to become the #1 hero. He finally gets an opportunity to become a hero when All Might, the #1 hero, decides to give him some of his power. He then gets a chance to go to UA High, a school for heroes, where he gets the chance to show everyone his new power of breaking his own fucking limbs. Honestly, it's a pretty bare-bones shonen, but I just can't help myself from feeling hyped every time I see Deku break his own fingers again. You know, you would think as someone who grew up playing the piano that I would have watched Your Lie in April sooner, but for some reason I just put it on the back burner for the longest time. Probably because I'm a huge fucking crybaby, I knew that the show would make me bawl my eyes out. Yeah, it did. Kosei, a famous young prodigy on the piano, finds himself unable to play it anymore after the death of his mother. That is, until he meets Kaori, an expressive violinist who forces him to play the piano, sending Kosei on a journey to find his own musical expression again. Such a beautiful and heartbreaking story, and it caught me crying a lot of times. Of course, I love piano music, but I know that's not everyone's cup of tea. But regardless, I still beg of you to give this show a chance if you haven't seen it already. It's really a story that's unforgettable.
And now for something completely different.
Nichijou is the damn funniest show I've ever seen, and that's not an understatement. The antics of 3 high school girls just living their ordinary lives is hysterical and fucking cute as heck. There's no reason why trying to catch a sausage before it hits the ground is animated better than the entirety of Sword Art Online, but it just is. The over-exaggerated slapstick and sometimes deadpan comedy never fails to make me exhale out of my nose a little bit every time I watch it. That's some funny shit. Alright, here we go. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is absolutely bizarre, and I just really can't think of another word to describe it. Though the show does have stellar fight scenes, both physical and psychological, along with some of the saddest character deaths I've ever seen. JoJo truly shines in its almost random, absurd situations that, taken out of context, are absolutely hilarious. Everyone has their baby's first anime that gets them into the genre, and like many, mine was Attack on Titan. Obviously, the shock value of characters dying so often by being eaten by titans is what drew a lot of people to the show. Ever since the controversial first season, the show has really grown into something amazing. The struggles of humanity under constant attack from titans, the stellar action scenes, and the mystery of the titans' existence may have wavered here and there, but has really grown to become one of the most unpredictable and engaging anime out there. I'm probably biased as fuck for the show, but fuck you. Demon Slayer took over the entire anime community in 2019, and it's really easy to see why. Tanjiro's quest to turn his now demon sister back into a human by becoming a demon hunter has everything you want in a show. Bloody fights, colorful characters, cool powers, funny moments, and incredible animation. Put these all in the blender and Now that's a spicy, that's a damn tasty anime. Erased is about a manga artist named Satoru who has the ability to travel back in time a few minutes before a serious accident. Yeah, it's a time travel anime, I know, just bear with me. After being wrongly accused of killing someone very close to him, he winds up having traveled back in time when he was a kid in order to stop the series of events that led up to the present-day murder, which involved preventing the murder of a classmate when he was young. The story is kind of predictable at times, but that doesn't take away from the delivery of the mystery elements at all. Kaio is just adorable. God, please just protect her at all costs. The show is a bit divisive for a lot of people, including myself for a while, but I believe that the quality of the show makes it good enough to make this a must watch for everybody. Now here's a show you probably haven't heard of before. Kyosugiga is about a monk named Mioe who has the ability to make anything he draws come to life. He has a family in secret consisting of his wife Koto, a black rabbit in human form, and his 3 children consisting of humans and demons. Since society does not look fondly on this family, he secretly moves to a city of his own creation called the Looking Glass City, where the family live happily. But because of a deal they made, the mom and dad have to eventually return to the real world, leaving the 3 kids alone in the city. After the kids grow up, one day a girl also named Koto crashes into the city and claims to be looking for a black rabbit. Kyosugiga is about family, about finding your self-worth, and about loving each other despite being completely different people. Though all of these themes are backed up by super flashy animation and colorful eye candy. The plot may be confusing at times. In fact, like, the whole time, maybe. But regardless, this anime is really a dark horse of this past decade, and it really deserves some more recognition. Okay, so I might lose some of you on this one, but imagine this. A time travel isekai. Wild ideas, I know. ReZero is about a loser named Subaru who suddenly finds himself transported to another world, and he's seemingly okay with it. He meets a girl named Satella who he falls in love with, and they die. Fortunately, or at times rather unfortunately, Subaru has the power to return to a point in time after he dies, allowing him to go back through the events he just went through and try again. Using this power, he tries to make a name for himself in a world that really doesn't need him. ReZero is a more horror-based isekai with mystery elements thrown in, but it's got a lot more than that too. It's a fleshed out world of magic, politics, class, and monsters that go beyond what a normal isekai delivers. All of the characters, Subaru especially, go through a lot of character development and makes them all super memorable. Especially Rem, who will always and forever be best girl. In 2013, a new studio composed of members of previous studios got together and aired their first TV anime.
Don't lose your way. Your mind, we have to be.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Kill la Kill is about Ryoko Matoi, a girl who carries around a scissor blade that she obtained from her father who was murdered. In order to locate the other half of the scissor blade in order to find the killer, she enrolls at Shujin Academy, a strict school under the dictator rule of the student council led by Satsuki Kiryun, whom Ryuko must fight in order to get a clue about the murderer. Fighting in superpowered yet revealing clothing. Whoa, ma! Kill la Kill does not take itself seriously at all, except for when it does later down the line. Alright, so forget the story, just the pure entertainment value in watching this show puts it so high up on my list. Music is written by a composer named Hiroyuki Sawano, who makes the best epic music of any composer out there. So okay, here I have a hot dog character, and I want you to compare the entrance this little wiener makes in two different cases. You tell me which one stands out more. So here's a simple fade-in of the hot dog.
Hi, how are you?
Here's a Kill la Kill fade-in of the same hot dog. There's no way I can describe the plot of Fooly Cooly to anybody because it's actually impossible. I guess generally speaking, it's a coming-of-age story about Naota, but Fooly Cooly is Studio Gainax creating a show with no meeting after creating Neon Genesis Evangelion, a show littered with meeting in just this elevator scene. Anyways, the animators literally decided to just put whatever the hell they wanted to do. One moment it'll just kind of be standard animation, then it becomes a 3D rotoscope shot, then manga style, then whatever the hell this is, then South Park just for the hell of it. I think what I love about FLCL is how it's just a passion project of inside jokes that just so happen to be made into an anime that, despite not making any sense at all, will not be one you forget anytime soon. The music for the show is all written by one underground band called The Pillows, and their music is fucking awesome. I listen to it all the time. By the way, I just want to clarify that this is all only the first season. Progressive and alternative fucking suck. So for the longest time, I had Code Geass as my #1 favorite anime, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. In the distant future of 2017, Japan has fallen under the rule of the oppressive Britannian Empire, an alternate version of the United States. Lelouch, a Britannian student with a secret past, gets caught in the struggle between the Empire and the Japanese resistance, and after gaining a mind control power called Geass from a mysterious woman, becomes a mass vigilante to try to free the Japanese from tyranny and obliterate Britannia. It's a mecha show, a high school anime, a political drama, and a supernatural show all thrown into a big messy melting pot. Lelouch is the perfect anti-hero. He's a devious strategist, and he's for sure the highlight of the show. The show's fast-paced, plot twists, and cliffhangers make it engaging all the way through, although there are few problems with it that are noticeable. If you're the kind of person who likes to sit on a high chair sipping wine and going, yes, robots don't quite make that much sense now, do they? Then you're probably gonna notice a lot of problems with it. However, despite all of that, Code Geass is absolutely worth watching all the way through for that so satisfying conclusion. Not to mention that it has one of the fucking best abridged series to ever come out.
The soup store! Why are you buying clothes at the soup store?
So I watch a lot of shonen, if you couldn't tell. So to see Hunter x Hunter do everything I already love in the traditional shonen, and then flip it all on its head, completely subverted my expectations of the show, and made it one of my favorites upon completion. In a world where hunters are people who put themselves in danger in order to obtain great treasure or accomplish great feats, Gon wants to become the best hunter in the world in order to find his father, Jing, who left him a long time ago to become a hunter himself. What starts out as a very Pokemon-like anime slowly but surely changes into something much darker, subverting all of your expectations. Gon is really a side character to the entire world of Hunter x Hunter itself. Power system, the Hunter organization, underground syndicates, cities, nations, and continents of the show are the most fleshed out and fascinating of anything out there. This is the hardest sell from me to anyone who hasn't seen the show. Yes, the show is long. Yes, it starts out kind of boring. I beg of you to give Hunter x Hunter a genuine shot, and I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Oh man, where do I begin with Mob Psycho 100? The animation, the characters, soundtrack, it's all top tier. Shigeo Kageyama, nicknamed Mob, is a middle schooler who possesses extremely powerful psychic powers, which actually don't help him out that much. Under the supervision of Reagan, a con man posing as a sidekick, Mob tries to find out how to live a normal life while keeping his Esper powers under control, which are in danger of releasing under emotional duress. Mob Psycho is everything. It's a mystery about the spirits of the past. It's a comedy about super absurd stuff. It's action-packed with the best choreographed fights of any show out there. It's a character drama about growing and becoming the best person you can be, and it's so much more. Season 2 of the show in particular contains one of the single best episodes of anime of all time, and that is no exaggeration. It's really that good. I consider this to be the best quality anime on my list, and it comes really close to topping my favorite anime of all time. I've rewatched Gurren Lagann countless times now, and it still manages to make me feel the same way the first time I watched it. The pure bliss of watching Simone, Kamina, and Yoko kick logic to the curb and do the impossible in the illogical mech fights. The satisfaction I feel when they find a massive gunman, then blow it up, only to be met by a gunman the size of a mountain, and then blow that one up too. The tears I shed every time without fail. The motivation I feel when characters fall down and then get right back up again. Gurren Lagann knows how to make me feel. It's definitely not the smartest nor the most technical show by any means, but it's definitely the most fun I've ever had with any anime I've ever seen. Okay, so thank you for watching. I'm sorry for the kind of whispery talk I've been doing. I'm kind of recording at 3 in the morning, and I like my roommates a lot. Thank you to Top Gannon for making these drawings. They are truly incredible, and I could not have asked for them to come out any better. Quarantine has made things really iffy right now, and I'm glad that I decided to take the time to make this. Liking and subscribing would really motivate me to do more of this, because I really do like making videos. Alright, so anyways, yeah, I guess that's it. I'm out.